Hey, it's Emily Miller. Welcome to my YouTube channel. As I just told all of you who are my subscribers over on Substack, emilypostnews.com, I'm experimenting a little bit to see if you'd like to see my reporting on video. I will continue to do the writing, but I'm going to just start doing some on video and see if you like it that way over here on YouTube. So if you do, hit subscribe and you'll start getting my videos. So my first one today is about the story you just saw about DC changing the law on how much ammunition you can carry if you have a concealed carry permit in DC. And as you know, I think those of you who follow me know that I was the first woman in DC to get a concealed carry permit when it was really hard to get. Now it's really open. It's still a challenge. There's a lot of training requirements, but anyone in America can get a carry permit for Washington, D.C. You do not have to be a resident. So it's come a long way. But one of the rules they've had, one of the laws they've had, is that they had a limit on 20 rounds only if you're outside the home. Nobody knows where they came up with 20 rounds. I am 100% sure there are no criminals out there counting out their rounds. It's all the law-abiding people doing it. And also, since DC has a high-capacity magazine ban, meaning that you could only have magazines that are 10 rounds or less, that meant when you're carrying, you could have the rounds in your gun plus your magazine, and be very careful that you don't have that extra one or that extra round in your gun. So this I can do, I can't do in writing, so I can show you. This is one of my 10-round magazines, and I see if I can get it even close up. You can see it actually would go to 12 rounds down here, but I had to have a dealer put this in to block, so it could only cap 10. So this is an example of what a high capacity magazine creates. It's ridiculous. Like, this is not, crime is not happening down here. And the criminals are also not getting magazines fixed by the dealer to be complacent. However, this is still DC law. I'm a law-abiding citizen, so this is what I have. So the law that they just changed on Wednesday, because the deadline was Thursday for Dick Heller's most recent lawsuit. Dick Heller has a lot of lawsuits. He's a great friend of mine, and I talked to him yesterday, and I'll tell you about that. His latest lawsuit was about this 20-round max for carrying outside the home, because of course it's a totally arbitrary number, as Dick told me. And the bigger picture here, which applies to everyone in the country, is the Supreme Court just ruled in June in the infamous, now it's landmark, Bruen case, which was about New York carry permits. But what the court said, and this is why it's as big of a deal as the Heller decision was for the Supreme Court in 2008, this Bruen decision this year, is that it said that any gun control law has to follow the text of the Constitution, and the Second Amendment is real short, so that's not hard to do. And it has to have an analogous in history. So what that means is there has to be a gun control law that was in effect when the Founding Fathers were writing the Constitution. Now, I've gone back in history, and I cannot find anything that says that you have to have a limit to how many rounds you have in a gun. Now, of course, there are not a lot of guns back then. There were muskets and such. And however, there was no law like that. So it's going to be real hard for all these high-capacity magazine laws around the country, so-called. I will always say so-called high-capacity, because this is considered high-capacity if it didn't have this little thingy in here. So back to this news in D.C. Because of the Bruen case, now there's lawsuits all over the country, and I know some of you are following them. Every state, particularly the states with the blue states with the gun control laws, have lawsuits challenging them because they are going to have to find a law in place when the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, which is going to be interesting to see. So, Dick Heller's latest lawsuit, Dick's had so many lawsuits. He has changed laws so many times in D.C. He is intrepid. I love this man. Incredible. So this one, he filed in June. His lawyer is George Lyons, who I've also interviewed, and I'll talk to you about that. And they filed this in June to challenge it. And yesterday, which this is Friday, Thursday was the deadline for the city to respond. So the city had to respond to the lawsuit. And instead of responding, the city, the Office of the Attorney General is who Dick is suing. Dick and the other plaintiffs are suing. Office of the Attorney General told the DC Police Chief, Robert Conti, put out this emergency order. It's a regulation, and it says we are immediately stopping enforcement of the 20-round magazine ban, immediately. So that was only happened because of this lawsuit. So then the lawsuit is no more. Now, I asked George Lyons, the lawyer, this, and I said, what do you think was the reason that they wanted this out of court? I had my suspicions. George said to me, and I wrote it down here, one of the purpose they have for repealing it is to avoid setting a precedent under Bruen. This is a victory, a relatively minor victory, but it's nonetheless a victory. So what he's saying is, if DC had gone forward with this case, like they did with the Heller case way back when, they would have ended up with a precedent, and then Maryland's case and New York's case and California, which is a huge one that's coming up on high capacity magazines, would all have had a precedent in court. So that's really what changed it. And so good for Dick, like challenged the government, and he did it. So this, and George, the lawyer, George Lyons, does most of the big DC now lawsuits, and he said, when I talked to him on Thursday morning, he said, it was really fun. He's like, I walked my dog last night and carried 31 rounds. So he, George is a carry holder. He's also, if you followed me, George also was my trainer when I got my carry permit. So he's a trainer as well. Great guy, good friend of mine. So back to the story. When I heard about this, and I called George, and George sent me the lawsuit and the document from the police chief. I then called the DC Police press office and was told, we're just doing what the Attorney General tells us to do. So then I called the Attorney General's office, and they have, I'll tell you, this is behind the scenes reporting news, but they have 3 numbers for press. I called all 3 numbers. All of them went to voicemail, and all of them said there was no voicemail set up. So then I sent an email, and I emailed their media people, and they never respond, which I think is just appalling. So at least the police responded to say they have know anything about it. What I would like to know, and I'll get back to my story in a second, what I would like to know is how are they notifying people who have concealed carry permits that you can carry more than 20 rounds? I haven't gotten a notice in the mail. I haven't seen anything. So that's what I've asked. Still don't know the answer to that, but we'll keep you posted. So after I talked to George, called the police, called everyone, I called Dick Heller, of course, and asked him how he felt about it. And he said he was really surprised it happened this fast. We're in a post-Bruen world with gun control laws now, so things are snappy. And he said it surprised me that it was so quick, but notwithstanding that, I shouldn't have had to do it in the first place. He said that several times to me. He's like, I shouldn't have had to do it in the first place. This never shouldn't have been a law. He said 20 rounds is arbitrary. They make up this number. Doesn't mean anything. It has nothing to do with crime. It's true. There's no science behind 20 rounds or 10 rounds for that matter. He said exactly, it was an arbitrary round for 20 rounds, arbitrary number for 20 rounds. They should never have been done. So George said, and because there are other plaintiffs on the case besides Dick, Heller, he's just the most famous one. George said, my clients feel this allows them to carry the amount of ammunition they think they need to protect themselves in one of the most violent cities in the country. And I'll tell you, DC crime is off the charts. I know it is around the country. Homicide rates are appalling. With carjacking has gotten really bad in DC as well. So if you carry and you're legal carry, I do. It's a smart thing to do in this city now. And that's speaking for all the plaintiffs. George Lyons, and he said, we are happy that another unconstitutional provision of DC firearms regulation has been repealed. And I'll just say on the side, as you know, some of you have read my book, Emily Gets Her Gun, or followed my reporting over the years. DC, when I got started in all of this, DC had a law that you had to register every gun you had you had to register each of your guns with the city. Now that law is still in place, but in order to do it, just to buy one gun that I could only keep at home, I had to it took, I think, if I'm remembering back now, 3 or 4 months, over $600 in fees, because I had to get a trainer, I had to pay all these other fees. It was all that in order to buy a gun to keep at home, which the Second Amendment allows you to do, and Heller's case allowed me to do. So when I did this, and it was about 10 years ago, you can go back, look online, Emily Gets Her Gun, the stories are still online, my book is for sale. I don't get any proceeds anymore, so I'm not trying to make money off it, but it may be a good read. It explains how I went through the process and all the crazy stuff I had to do in order to get a gun. But in there, you'll see that the city council was following my reporting, and they changed the law, which I was very pleased about. I testified as well in front of the city council. And they changed the law so that it now says that you do not have to do the training. It took, I think I had 17 steps that I had to follow in order to get a gun, including a ballistics test, including having my gun inspected. A lot of those were taken away. So I say that to say that reporters, citizens like Dick Heller, you can get things changed if it's not constitutional. You can get the laws changed. So when George said, we're happy another unconstitutional provision of DC firearm regulation has been repealed. For those of us who are in this all the time, there's so many, and there's so many more to go. And as I said, you still have to register every single gun you own with the DC police, which that's another lawsuit I think George has. I'll follow up on that one. So the Office of Attorney General has not responded to me. The police department won't give me an answer on how they're going to tell you, but I will keep trying to figure it out. But at the very least, I'm telling you, if you have a DC carry permit, and I know a bunch of people who don't live in DC have one, if they come through DC or they just want to have one, I think it's great. You can carry more than 20 rounds. You're not going to get arrested and go to jail because it is a felony if you did. So that's the news. That's the story. I am going to continue to try to do both Substack and writing and YouTube for video. So because of that, I would really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button, the red button, so you know when I have videos coming up. Hit the like button, and please leave me comments. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what you want more of, what you want less of. I'm just testing the waters here, so I would really love your feedback. Thank you, and see you back next time.